Hi, hello, namaste. I am Moumita back with my new podcast season, Unpacking Authenticity. As promised, you will find different speakers, varied perspectives, trying to understand authenticity a little more. First of all, I would like to take the opportunity to thank each one of you for showing amazing amount of interest and support, not only for this podcast, but for my earlier two podcasts as well. So today I published my first episode, and it's a pleasure to introduce who else but Rohit Kokane, who is himself an award winning podcast host, known for his shows like Motivation Spark, Glitters of Life podcast. Over the past 3 years, he has hosted over 100 episodes focusing on promoting authenticity and personal growth. Rohit, in his free time, enjoys cycling, traveling, and immersing himself in music. He's a kind hearted soul, and he's been a great support in getting my first episode published. So here we are to listen to Rohit and his perspective on authenticity. Hi, Rohit. It's an honor to have you on the conversation on unpacking authenticity.
Thank you so much, Momita. And it's such a pleasure to be here and having that particular conversation because the topic is quite new. The topic is quite interesting as well. And there's a lot to share. So I'm going to enjoy my time. And again, such a kind host that you are. So definitely it's going to be an honor.
Wow, that's a good place to start with. You have put me as kind, but at this moment, I'm really trying to explore Rohit and authenticity. And as you remember, we had a brief chat on this. When I was coming up with this topic, and the first thought, as to who should be my guest is I'm trying to pick people who live authenticity. And Rohit, whatever little interaction I've had with you, you come across as Mr. Authentic. So can you share like what makes you like this, or who is this Rohit Kokane who is just, Mr. Authenticity rather?
Well, it's all about like how you evolve as a person and how you grow as a person. There are a lot of elements that bring us to that particular point where we can call ourselves as authentic because life is such like it just progresses on, but it's more about the value that you are bringing out to the audience through various mediums. Like we are projected to few people accordingly. So it like for you, it might be kind of a Mr. Authentic. For few people, it might not be the case. So it's more about like whenever we get up and whenever we are getting ready, like we always see in the mirror, that is the reflection, that is the true reflection of who you are, is what I believe. Because at that particular time, there are no filters. It is more about like what kind of person you are. It's always about understanding your values, your strengths, might be weaknesses as well. And it's all about embracing them. Because at times we are not just grooming at that particular moment. We are thinking about ourselves as well, like what way we are going to crush that particular day. So it's more about like how you are going to go forward and then show up your true self. So authenticity is more about like how you can bring that particular true self to the audience, and it's more about connecting with that particular intent. And when I talk about myself, I have always been a kind of a person who has always been a calm and composed one. I don't like to rush things. So it's more about finding that particular comfort in my own zone and then making that particular impact. So I remember like when I started with the podcasting, I felt so attached with this particular medium because it was more about like putting out my voice out there in a very subtle way. That is something that truly resonates with me. I did try doing a lot of things on internet. I started with my YouTube channel as well, but that was not real me. I was just trying to get my foot into it so that I get visible, but I didn't enjoy that particular stint. So it's more about like what kind of image that you are bringing out to the audience. And for me, my existence on social media, a bit like people who I have been connecting with or anything around that particular thing floats through podcasting. And being into business as well, it's more about like we always have that different style of doing certain things. So it's more about how you can bring out your true self to the audience, and then the interactions that happen with the people, the perspectives that you learn from interacting with them, it always shapes our personality. how they are thinking, how they are reacting, what kind of different things they are doing into that particular moment. So all in all, it's more about building that particular composure, and then reaching out to the people and reaching out to your true self through that particular medium that usually happens. So it's more about that particular thing is what I feel, Momita.
Wonderful. Very well summarized. You started with a very simple way of looking at yourself in the mirror. I'm still stuck there. You mentioned the word filter, and today we are in the
Yeah,
digital
yeah.
age where everywhere there are filters, and you're talking of podcasting, right? So we all kind of connect to a voice because most of the time, audio podcast. So, what are the few things that you do that you don't get? I wouldn't say you don't get, but you don't get trapped, in this filtered digital world, and still we bring out your true self because you mentioned you connect to the audience, bringing your true self. How do you do that?
So it's all about values, Mamita. What I feel is that you know your purpose, why you are existing out there, what you're going to contribute to the audience, and how you're going to react to certain situations. So if you are willing to build those perfect relations with the people, it's more about not acting as a true self or not acting as like authentic person. It's more about you're bringing that particular image, that particular personality to the existence. So it's more about that particular thing. At times, people fear from showing up their faces. It might happen, but it will somehow reflect through your voice or through whatever words you are putting out there. So it's just the mere reflection of what you are and how you want to deal with those kind of moments. So that's the real essence of it. Like you won't be getting trapped into it because you know your purpose, you know like what you want to contribute to the society and how you are doing that particular thing. At times we connect with thousands of people, but at the end of the day, we might be just interacting with 20 or 30 peoples out there who we might be having contact numbers or will be getting on calls or meetings, something like that. So it's more about like know your people who can help you, who can build that particular community. And it's not just about going out there and seeking help from that particular people. It's more about how you're helping them, what good you have got, and how you can share that particular moment. So each person has got a different personality is what I believe, and that is very true for all of us individuals. So it's like that. It just happens that you just have to go in there, you just have to see like what you can do for the best of the community, and then people will start attracting towards you. So it's not mandatory to keep check on all of those things, particularly on social media, but you need to have a kind of a good thing to showcase your skills as well. So it's more about that particular thing.
I like this bit that, the bit that you're saying, you don't have to act, you just be.
Yeah, yeah,
It just
yeah.
happens. I think that's an amazing way. But when we're looking at listeners, Rohit, and when I put up this topic and everyone was like, Momita, this is going to be a very bold topic of authenticity. And I couldn't connect to that much as because I thought it's the way of life. But what are the benefits if I'm carrying my authentic self or if you are carrying your authentic self? What are the benefits that you see for our listeners if you can articulate a few?
Such a good question. When we are talking about the benefits, it's more about how you are going to address those particular benefits in a very subtle way because it's your mere reflection of how you are. So authenticity is not something a kind of a task that you'll be, hey, I have to be authentic today, and this is all I'm going to do for that particular sake. It's more about in what way you can help people, in what way you can bring out that particular body language so that they feel safe, they feel acknowledged, and they feel like no, you are the real person and you exist into this particular world. So it's more about that particular thing. And for that particular thing, I feel that the benefits are real. Once you get into those particular relationships with the people, it's more about how you're acting with them, in what way they will be seeking help from you, in what way they trust you. So it's not just about being a podcaster or being into the business. It's not just about I'll be helping about those elements. It's all about how we can create a web of people so that they feel like this is the safe circle that we are existing and we can bank upon those people. So it's more about the compound effect that usually happens. If you're kind enough, if you act kind enough, then people surely will be getting attracted, and then the benefits comes into picture. So what I feel is that it builds the stronger foundation. So if I take an example of home, Momita, it's more about like we have to build a strong foundation. So that is something it takes a lot of efforts. Then when we venture into inside of the house, it's more like aesthetics. So that is again a kind of a picture that we see like, no, this has got a great aesthetic, but it does exist on the foundation that you have built. So it's more about that particular thing. And that is how the benefits will come into picture when we are talking about the authenticity, or you are practicing as a kind of authentic person. So that is all in all what I feel about it. And it's more about the integrity that you have, because you have been taught in a certain way. You have been like, the upbringing matters a lot, in what environment you have been raised, and what kind of people you have been accompanying with. Your friends, families, and each and every people that contributes to your life will matter in long run, with respect to the authenticity that you have got. Because every interaction has got something to contribute to your life. It's not just about like walking the talk, and not just like talking the talk. It's more about balancing each of them, and then moving ahead with the kind of person you have evolved as a during that particular time.
Yeah, and I think it's a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. It cannot just, as you say, you Monday morning you get up and today I'm going to be authentic. It doesn't work like that. And that's precisely one of the challenges, Rohit. And especially when I talk to my clients, and since I'm a facilitator and
Yeah,
coach as
yeah,
well, the 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 way they look at me and they say, Momita, because you're in this field, you can be authentic, but you don't have a boss where you have to report into. So, what would you suggest, or maybe in your experience when you have interacted with several people, what do you think stops people from being? Because I feel everybody wants to be authentic, but
yeah.
something comes in between which they are not able to. So, what has been your experience on this, Rohit?
So it's most of the time, Momita, it's all about people want to prove to someone, and that really stops them from making that particular progress. Whom we are going to prove, what we are going to do after proving them. So it's more about like, are you proving them right or wrong? That again comes into picture. So for me, it's more about the honesty. For me, it's more about the empathy that we can carry. And as a person, we always aim for the kind of sustainability that we'll be having into our own life as well. Because at times you are quite authentic, and then after 6 or 8 months, then you suddenly go away and come as a different person to the people. And it does happen. I have seen people who have been really good at face for a few of the years, and then suddenly few things changes. It's a matter of situations, as what I feel. So when we are talking about as a team or as a people, it's more about the kind of feedback that we are getting. Are we working on it or not? And if we are working, we have to understand the gravity as well. Otherwise, it's just like they have got used to telling or giving me a kind of feedback. They don't love my work. They don't agree to whatever I say. But from where it is coming, you have to address that particular core pain point as well. And once we are doing that particular thing, I feel that it will always get easier to come back stronger. Because each and every decision that we take into our own life will bring out certain kind of repercussions or the outcomes, and we don't have to bow down to the outcomes. It's more about the process. If we stop at that particular point, there is again a full stop, and then again there is a chance to carry forward. You just have to make that particular space. You don't have to wind up that particular book that you are writing for yourself. So when we are talking about how we can grow ahead into that particular field, or the kind of people that we interact, I feel that it's more about choosing what is right and just going ahead with that particular thing. Because for me, the ethics, the principles do matter a lot, because that has come from my father itself. Like, he has been always be that kind of a person. He won't ever compromise on that particular thing, and you just get used to it. And it's not just about adjusting to that particular principles and ethics. It's all about carrying that particular legacy, following that particular principles and ethics, so that it sets an example for the future generation as well, and people who look at you as well. So it's more about the combination that you are building through that particular thing.
Very well put across it. I hear these words of, being honest, being truthful. You mentioned word of trust. You build trust with your bringing your authentic self. And I love the way you say, it's not about the feedback. It's about how the feedback has got, what is the
Yeah.
trigger? And if I'm able to work on that, that perhaps gets me stronger back. So while I'm hearing these words, Rohit, there are two words that also come along with authenticity: tact and diplomacy. How do you see the role of tact and diplomacy when one is trying to be authentic or one is authentic?
Again, like quite interesting and quite a diplomatic question, I must say.
I put it very diplomatically or tactfully, maybe.
We have the answer. It's more about when we are following a certain tact, it's more about like what kind of gray areas you are hiding about yourself. And that is really a kind of a tactful act. And it's not about you're bad at that particular thing. It's more about what a person can look at the good parts of your individuality. That is something that you can do tactfully, because we are exposed to the world. Like even our family members will be judging us for no reason. That usually happens. Our acts gets noticed, then we have got the feedback, or it may be just a kind of a random person who will be throwing some kind of comments on us. So how we are navigating through such kind of moments will define how tactfully you are planning to build your life, and in what way it does affect. Few people get quite nervous, few people get quite anxious, like if someone is giving them kind of a feedback and which isn't constructive. So it's more about finding that who it is coming from, and does it really mean to you, and if it really means to you, what steps you are going to take to deal with those particular criticisms or whatever people are thinking about your individual personality or a person as a whole. For me, it has always been the case. I have got my own style. I'll be doing things in my own way, and I don't bow to the kind of pressure or what people say. If they have to say, they have to say it to my face. And everyone knows around me, like this he is the kind of a person who will be that kind, like acting in that particular way, because I've got the ability, I've got the skill of detecting lies. And at times I'm so um, I get the urge of telling them to their face as well, like you are lying and I don't like this particular act. So when we are talking about the in what way you can tackle these situations, tactfully you can always say that you just have to see how you can project yourself in a better way. And diplomatically, it's more about you just have to get through that work done, like you just have to get that work done into that subtle way, because you know like how much time it will matter. So if you have been assigned some kind of a work, you know, like you have the deadline and you just have to submit it, and that particular thing, like you know your skills as well, and you're pretty sure that you'll be sailing through this particular thing. So it's more about you just have to define the timeline as well, the bandwidth for that particular thing, and then diplomatically you can just get like you can cruise through that particular thing. So decide to what extent the things will matter to you. Otherwise, like we'll be always be having like everything matters to me, but to what extent? If we are not defining the extent, then we'll be confusing ourselves, like whether to handle it tactfully or like diplomatically. So it's more about safeguarding yourself, but in a different way, so that each and every moment brings you in a very comfortable situation. Ultimately, when we are not dealing with those particular situations in the way we want, it will add to the pressure, it will add to the stress as well, and that in turn will give rise to conflicts as well. And when we talk about conflicts, you know like how those works. It's very tedious task to get a ball rolling out from it, and that can be a kind of a pain in your journey as well. So know the gravity of the problem, it exists, go deep, like solve it from the deep of its roots, and then you will have to decide what course of action you are going to take. Because the kind of questions that, like, you just have to throw a half question to the person who you are dealing with, it could be yourself as well, and then you'll be getting full answers from them. Like you don't have to dig a lot into that particular thing. So diplomatically, in such ways, you can always handle such situations, and that brings your skills, that brings your authentic self as well, because having that open and honest conversations with the people will always matter a lot.
I like the way you've taken it tactfully and diplomatically, Rohit. Because the one concern that I have, and that's something I have learned in my experiences, I have been, like, I call myself the brutally honest person. You know what you said. You know, you carry on
Yeah,
the way you
yeah,
want. People say what they have to say, and people leave when they have to leave. Okay, and that's how I have lived my life. And somewhere I think I had gone to the border of being rude or hurting people in the process of taking myself too seriously to be authentic, certain things. And that's where perhaps the tact came in. And that's why I thought I'll put it up to you. Now I've learned how to articulate. And basically, I love the way you said it's your objective. What's the objective that you have in mind in this conversation? That will
yeah.
determine how you put it across, right? So I guess that's so. So, I asked you about the benefits, and you have said, like, the principles, the values, that's drive you, and that's how your father is the role model there. You have learned from.
Yeah.
But perhaps any challenges that you think you have faced being authentic, or where you have like, what am I doing? Is this the right way? Any such instance or experience you could share for my listeners today?
Definitely, Momita, and challenges are part of life. And again, whatever you could do, like whatever you are going to do good for yourself, will be bringing in results accordingly. And at times, it won't go well with yourself as well, and for the people as well. So the challenges part is what I feel is that when you're totally authentic about how you want to carry forward your life, you'll be connecting only with the few people who are true to you, and that is the challenging part, because we want a better community, we want a larger community, we have to feel accepted by a lot many people. Might be the reason like why I have been slow on social media as well. Because when I try to be like, I can't change myself, like I can't go and dance on reels, I can't just like laugh all the time and show my that happy face. It's more about the kind of person I am, and that is how I have to reflect. Usually, earlier in my days, I used to get a kind of a feedback that you just have to make a lot of gestures while you are hosting podcast or so. But it's more about, this is me. If my hands are rested, if my body is not moving a lot, that doesn't mean I'm not attentive. That doesn't mean I'm not open to the conversation. It's more about the style that you have got. So at times, people start feeling that you are kind of a rigid person. That is something that can be a challenge, because if they have to throw certain kind of opportunity towards you, you might not be able to grab them, because you feel that whatever they have been serving, that should be coming just to, right into your hands, and you won't be reaching out to that particular opportunity. So these are the few challenges that I feel. And again, it's an ongoing journey. When we are like when we are surrounded by the supportive people or the team who always encourage us to do better, I feel that that won't be a challenge anyway. And the challenge could be again in terms of the transparency that we are trying to build. Because when when we don't accept the kind of bullshit that we are seeing at that face particular thing, then it's more about like we won't be able to build that particular trust as well. So the kind of bond that we have to establish, the kind of transparency that we have to build, the kind of community that we want to foster, maybe a kind of a slow or the challenging part when we are talking about the authenticity, because it's more about the accountability as well. When we are having this particular conversation, I'm accountable to my words. And if any way it just offends people, it doesn't mean that I'm targeting someone. It's more about my personality, how they can take a lesson from this particular thing and try to continuously learn from it. So it's more about that particular thing as well. And challenges are going to be part of it. Like the way you are, even the extroverts have got challenges. Like we'll be having that particular comment, oh, they speak a lot, they talk a lot, and they are always opening for, like they are always open to those conversations and the people. But do I really like that particular part? I may like to some extent, but not all the time. So it's more about whatever you do. As we know, like the coin has got two sides of it. So it either it could be heads or tails. So you just have to see like what kind of a toss you have to win in your life.
You're talking of reels, and I was thinking of all the reels that I make when I laugh and smile, and I do all of that.
You have to do. You don't have to change yourself. It's more about
Yeah.
being true, being honest about
Yes.
yourself, and in what way it can make you happy.
Yeah.
But doing all the time, just and not even like you're not feeling that kind of a joy at that particular moment, and you're still trying to do that, that won't reflect your true self.
I think that's where I connect and I align with your thought process, that anything which is done in auto mode or which is done because everyone else is doing, when you
Yeah,
yourself are not enjoying, it is definitely not authentic. So,
right.
so any practical tips and strategies that you have for cultivating authentic lifestyle?
Well, when we are talking about the practical tips or the style to develop that particular authentic self, I want to go back to my school days. During my school time, we had this like essay competition, and for the class of Hindi, and I was good at Hindi. Few of our my classmates went for Sanskrit. I kept on with the Hindi, and Sanskrit being kind of a like you get to score a lot. Most of the studious people went for it, but I was not quite excited to that particular subject. it was more of reciting and then remembering all of that particular stuff. So very few people left with in the Hindi class who were quite studious, who were doing well above average or like scoring first class marks into their unit test or like whatever test that we have got. And that particular Hindi essay competition was announced by madam, and we had this kind of a, like awards at the annual function as well. So that was such kind of a competition. Usually for the practice competitions it does happen, but one day it was surprisingly announced that this will be the competition and the person who will be winning this will be awarded into the annual function. I was pretty sure like there are not a lot many people into this particular class. We are kind of a studious people, and I'll be just hoping to get my first award into the school. I was kind of an average student, Momita, for that reason. I never won any award. So that particular day, I remember like that particular class teacher came in and then she announced we started writing the essay. We were given topic, and one of my friend took out a essay book, the essay book, and he started writing from it itself. And that is something it really pained me. And I was sure like a teacher would be able to gauge that it has been copied or something like that, because you know the kind of personality you have got. Once you're writing your own thoughts, like if you're publishing a blog, you know you'll be able to know that if it is written by AI or it is are they your real thoughts. So it was that kind of an incident, and he wrote that particular essay like a mix of both, like the whatever was written in a book and then by his own thoughts. And once the results were announced, he was the winner out of all. And that day I realized that whatever good you do may not be getting acknowledged at that particular moment or at that particular time, but you were true to yourself. You like you wrote with your heart, you wrote with what you felt at that particular moment. And those words, those that particular situation I always remember. And for me that was an award, because I know the person who won falsely got that particular thing. So it's more about that particular process that you go through. So the practical tip or the strategy here would be whatever others are doing, it's their own task, it's their own journey. You just have to focus on how you can build your true self, how you can build your own authentic journey. It's your behavior, it's your actions, regardless of circumstances. Because when we are talking about the consistency, when we are talking about how we can overpower a few people out there or like grow well apart from what kind of chores they are doing, it's more about you just get committed to your work. Otherwise it's going to be the same journey for you and them as well. Because if you are going to try if you're going to try doing something different, then you just have to make sure that you are doing it in your own way, and that will totally bring that particular authentic self. That is something I always follow, because I don't want to do certain things just for the sake of doing. It's more about getting committed into that particular process. If I don't feel like doing, I won't ever do. I'll be so outright in saying that I don't want to do it. I won't be able to do this. That is something that you have to say, like, be upfront in your thoughts, be upfront in whatever you think at that particular moment. That will help you to develop a kind of a personality, so that people know that you're not fooling around. At times you'll be saying yes, and at times the moment will come and you'll just be backing off. That doesn't reflect good on people. So that is something that you have to try to achieve or try to follow, because these are the practical tips I follow in my own life, and that is something I hope it will help people as well.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that candid story of Hindi essay. I don't know what happened to that, but today you're winning awards for podcasting. So I guess what's destined for you is something that you are. And what I like, and these days you see in the world of AI, it's so easy to do an assignment, right? And
Yeah.
I am a mother of a teenager at home. He does, look at it. He does refer to it because you get perspectives, you get ideas. But I have never seen him sit down and copy. Whereas once he finishes writing, he shares that with his friends. I've done it. You do it from mine now. So he's on the other extreme. So these are ways of seeing somebody, growing as an authentic person. And I was just asking him, any questions you have to ask for my guest? And he said, why don't you ask Mama, if parents are authentic, how do they cultivate children also to be? Because he's in class 11, he's not seeing authenticity in his classroom. Okay. And that's one of the conversations that we always have, that when we can be honest, why can't others be honest? So what is Your final thoughts. I know I would love to have this conversation, but final thoughts on Rohit, that I am authentic, but I don't see authenticity around. And you also mentioned about the same thing, that person
Yeah,
opened the
yeah,
book and did that and won the award.
right.
What would you tell people who think like this?
So it's more about the options that we have got in our life and from what particular option we are looking. What is the lens that you are wearing? That will always define your perspective. That will always define the kind of values you have got. And authenticity is such a kind of a big word. You just don't have to like add a lot of weight on it as well. Like, because once you try to overpower it, it will feel kind of a burden. It's more about try to see like how you can be so honest with the people around you in whatever way. So even if you find him or her copying, like anyone, be it any person, copying it or doing something wrong, it's just about having that particular conversation. What made you to do this? What you're expecting from that particular thing? Is it about you, or is it about the kind of the way you are doing it? I feel that it's more always about the way we are doing it, and then it will come towards us. That will define us. So it's more about try to have that particular journey where you feel that whatever you are doing, you just have to follow the right path, you just have to follow the right principles and ethics. That is not negotiable, because these days we have got a lot of things to explore. Our vision is quite wide and open, and you can do and you can accomplish a lot of things. If you can go back to your career days, there were limited options, and right now you might not be thinking even one of that particular option for your kid. So that is something that has changed with respect to the time. So whatever we are going to do, it's more about you have to honor yourself and the way you have to complete those particular tasks or whatever you are doing in your life. And it's more about finding that particular balance. If you need help, ask out for the people. If there are experts, have that particular conversation. If you're stuck, then see how you can find solution to that, because each and everything is available right now, and it's more about finding the right people for right task. And that is how the authenticity will come. You just don't have to talk with a kind of authentic person. You have to know like this is the kind of a good personality traits that particular person has got or Momita has got. I just have to fetch each and every or some parts from each and every individual, and that will make you a complete human being, and that will be your authentic self, is what I feel.
Wonderful, Rohit. I can just go on listening to the way you are describing. And I love the way, and that's entirely objective of talking to you on the podcast of authenticity, because it's kind of a over exaggerated word. All of us are doing it day in, day out. We can break it as a very simple, way of life. So thank you so much, Rohit. Thanks for your time and thanks for sharing such amazing perspectives. I don't know if I want a part two with you, but I really wanted some more questions, but I'll keep it short here. And thanks again.
Thank you so much for having me, and it was pleasure interacting with you. And about the second part, we can surely have it in person.
Look forward to meeting you in person, Rohit. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm sure you loved the episode on unpacking authenticity. Yes, it does make one reflect on the various perspectives shared by the guest today. Do share in your suggestions, your feedback, and all the social medias, which will help me improve this show for you. Look forward to more and keep watching this space for unpacking authenticity with Momita.